welcome to Leading Your Flock. I'm Jared, and last summer I did a series of videos for one of my classes at Hope International University. It was part of my master's program, and I had a class entitled Vision Casting. And our assignment was to create some social media posts to just encourage leadership, to encourage casting vision. And this is the project that I did, Leading Your Flock with Jared. I started thinking a lot about what it looks like to lead our flocks that God has given us. God has given us all influence, and all of us lead whether we realize it or not. And so in those flocks that we lead, we have been called to shepherd someone else, to lead someone else that God has put in our care. And I don't know, as you watch this video, what your flock is, whether it's a congregation and you are paid or even volunteering to lead a church in whatever capacity that might be. If your flock is the family that God has given you and you want to lead them well, maybe you're a Christian leader in a business and you just want to set the principles that God has given us through Jesus to lead in a good way, in a way that inspires other people, in a way that leads them in more Christ-likeness. Or maybe you are a leader in a church, maybe an elder or a deacon or a ministry leader, and you just want to lead well in that way. Well, my encouragement to you through this series of videos is that God can use you to make a difference, to lead like Jesus in the Jesus way, and to do that as a servant, but to do that as a shepherd. See, as you see these different videos, you'll notice that I love to be inspired by places and by different metaphors. And so I'll try to incorporate those in the different videos that we use, and hopefully you'll be intrigued by those things as well. But my encouragement to you today is that as you watch these videos, be encouraged as you lead your flock. I know that for me, the image of a shepherd that Jesus shares in John chapter 10 is one that inspires me. We're reminded in John chapter 10 the type of leader that Jesus is as a shepherd, but also in the Old Testament, Psalm 23, a psalm we're all familiar with, ways that Jesus just shows exactly how we should lead, how God leads us and how we should lead others. And so my encouragement to you today is to be that shepherd for your flock, whatever flock God has given you. And what does that look like? Well, the shepherd leads his sheep by going before them. He calls them to himself. He sets an example that others would follow. He bravely faces what's over the next hill and what is around the next corner and the bend that comes. And as he does that, he calls the sheep to follow his example. And so leaders need to lead by example, like a shepherd would. But in addition to that, he doesn't drive them. He doesn't push them and force them to do what he wants them to do. He calls them to follow his lead. But in addition to that, he calls them and he doesn't coerce them. He doesn't manipulate them. He cares for them. And so that's what a shepherd does. That's what we should do as leaders as well. And finally, he values his sheep. He values those that God has put in his care. So they should never feel used or manipulated, but instead they should feel valued and that they would be inspired to follow because of that. Because God has called each of us to shepherd. Sometimes we're the sheep, but other times we're the shepherd. And my encouragement to you is to lead in such a way that it inspires others to lead who God has put in their care. And so as you go through this video series, I hope you'll be encouraged. I hope that you'll tune in and just hear from what God has taught me. I don't come to you as an expert in any of these fields, but just trying to share my life with you. And it's an honor that you would join me. Thank you so much, and God bless you as you lead your flock.